Chapter 19. Waking on Wednesday morning, Quillerin was vaguely aware of a lump in his armpit. It was a Yum-Yum, hiding under the blankets in the safest spot she could find. But while she had run for cover, Coco was investigating the shattering noise that alarmed her. With his hind feet on a chair and his forepaws on the windowsill, he was watching the pellets of ice that bounced off the panes of glass. Hailstorm, Quillerin groaned. That's all we need to ruin the block party. Coco left the window and routed Yum-Yum out of bed. The hail sheathed the city in ice, but by 11 o'clock that morning, the weather developed a conscience and the sun broke through. Junktown sparkled like a jewel. Buildings became crystal palaces. Utility wires, street signs, and traffic lights wore a glistening fringe of icicles, and even the trash cans were beautiful. It was the only decent gesture the weather had made all winter. By noon, the junkers were flocking into Zwinger Street. Angels flew from the lampposts, carolers were caroling, and Ben Nicholas in white beard and Santa Claus pantaloons held audience on the stoop in front of his shop. Tiny Spooner was there, taking pictures, and even the morning rampage had sent a photographer. Quillerin mixed with the crowd and eavesdropped in the shops until it was time to return to the junkery and take his turn at tending the shop. He found Clethra on duty. "This chair is very old," she was telling a customer. "It has the original milk paint. You'd better grab it. At $27.50, Mrs. Cobb isn't making a penny on it, I can guarantee. Why, on Cape Cod, you'd have to pay $65. The customer capitulated, wrote a check, and left the shop in high glee, carrying a potty chair with sawed-off legs. Clethra turned the cash box over to Quillerin and explained the price tags. "Do you understand the code, hon?" she asked. "You read the numbers backwards to get the asking price, and then you can go up or down a few dollars depending on the customer. Be careful of that banister-back chair. It has a loose leg. And don't forget, you're entitled to strangle every third customer who tells you about her grandmother." The traffic in and out of the shop was heavy, but the buyers were less plentiful than the lookers and askers. Quillerin decided to keep a log for Mrs. Cobb's benefit. Sold 2 blue glass things out of window, $18.50. Woman asked for Sheffield candlesticks. Man asked for horse brasses. Sold spool chest, $30. Kissed female customer and sold tin knife box, $35. The customer in question had rushed at Quillerin with a gay little shriek. "Quill, what are you doing here?" "Rosie Riker, how are you? You're looking great." Actually, she was looking matronly and somewhat ludicrous in her antiquing clothes. "How've you been, Quill? I keep telling Arch to bring you home to dinner. Mind if I sit down? I've been walking around for 3 hours. "Not in the banister back, Rosie. The leg's loose." "I wish they'd turn those carol singers off for 5 minutes. How've you been, Quill? What are you doing here?" "Keeping shop while Mrs. Cobb's at her husband's funeral." "You're looking fine. I'm glad you've still got that romantic mustache. Do you ever hear from Miriam?" "Not directly, but my ex-mother-in-law puts the bite on me once in a while. Miriam's in that Connecticut sanitarium again." "Don't let those vultures take advantage of you, Quill. They're plenty well off." "Well, how have you been, Rosie? Are you buying anything?" "I'm looking for a Christmas present for Arch. How are your cats?" "They're great. Coco's getting smarter all the time. He opens doors, turns lights on and off, and he's learning to type." "You're kidding." "He rubs his jaw against the levers and flips the carriage or resets margins." not always at the most opportune time. "He's cleaning his teeth," Rosie explained. "Our vet says that's how cats try to clean their teeth. You should take Coco to the dentist. Our gray tabby just had a dental prophylaxis. Say, have you got any tin? I want to buy something for Arch." She found a tin knife box, and Quillerin, torn between two loyalties, guiltily knocked $2 off Mrs. Cobb's asking price. Rosie said, "I thought your story on the auction was great." "The story behind the story is better." "What's that? Arch didn't tell me. He never tells me anything." Quillerin reconstructed the night of Andy's accident. "I can't believe," he said, "that Andy simply missed his footing and fell. He'd have to have been an acrobat to land on the finial the way he did. There were customers coming to look at a chandelier that night. If he was in the process of getting it down off the ceiling, it would mean they had already okayed it. In other words, they were there when he fell. It doesn't click. I don't think they ever got in the store. I think the whole accident was staged, and Andy was dead when the customers arrived." As he talked, Rosie's eyes had been growing wider and wider. "Quill, I think Arch and I think we might have been the customers. When did it happen?" "Middle of October. The 16th to be exact. We wanted to get this chandelier installed before our Halloween party, but I didn't want to buy it without Arch seeing it. He came home to dinner, and then we drove back to Junktown. Andy was going to open up especially for us, but when we got there, the store was locked up, and no one was in sight. In the meantime, I noticed a chandelier in the Cobb's window that looked good, so we bought that one instead." "Were the Cobbs open at that late hour?" "No, but we saw someone going up the steps and asked him if the Cobbs would mind coming down to show us the fixture. He went upstairs and got Mrs. Cobb, and we bought it. It was a couple of weeks later that one of my junking friends told me about Andy's accident, and I never connected." "Who was the man who was going up the Cobb's front steps?" "He's a dealer himself. He has the bit of junk shop. It really worked out better for us, because the fixture we bought from Mrs. Cobb was painted tin, and I realized afterwards that Andy's brass chandelier would have been too formal for our dining room." "Did you say brass?" "Yes, sort of Williamsburg." "Not glass? Not a chandelier with 5 crystal arms?" "Oh, no. Crystal would be much too dressy for our house." That was when Quillerin kissed Rosie Riker. Later in the afternoon, he made a few additional entries in the log. Sold turkey platter, $75. Customer broke goblet, collected $4.50. Showed no mercy. Sold apple peeler to make into a lamp, $12. Sold bronze grill from Garrick Theater, $45. Photographer sat in banister back chair. Fluxion will pay for damage. Sold roll top desk, $750. The woman who came bursting into the shop asking for a roll top desk was not an experienced junker. Quillerin could tell that by her enthusiasm and her smart clothes. "The man next door told me you have a roll top desk," she announced breathlessly, "and I must have one before Christmas." "The one we have is in use," said Quillerin, "and the user would be extremely reluctant to part with it." "I don't care what it costs," she said. "I've got to have it for my husband's Christmas gift. I'll write you a check, and my driver will pick it up in the morning." Quillerin felt pleased with himself that evening. He had personally taken in almost $1,000 for Mrs. Cobb. He had gleaned information from Rosie Riker that reinforced his theory about the finial incident, and he had broached an idea to the managing editor of the Daily Fluxion that had made a big impression. If it proved to be workable, and the boss felt that it might, It would solve a lot of problems for a lot of people. After dinner, Quillerin was removing his belongings from the pigeonholes of the roll-top desk when he heard a heavy tread coming up the stairs. He opened his door and hailed his neighbor. Ben was still wearing his Santa Claus disguise. "Ben, what's a roll-top desk worth?" Quillerin asked. "There's no price tag on the one I'm using, and I sold it for $750, chair included." "Oh, excellent swindle," said the dealer. "Sir, you should be in the business." He trudged toward his apartment, then turned around and resolutely trudged back. "Will you join me in a drop of brandy and a crumb of rare cheese?" "I'll go for some of that cheese," Quillerin said. He had just finished an unsatisfactory dinner of canned stew. His host moved a copper wash boiler from the seat of a Victorian sofa, leaving an oval silhouette in the dust on the black horsehair, and the newsman sat on the clean spot and surveyed the appointments of the room: a bust of Hiawatha, a wooden plane propeller, empty picture frames, a wicker baby carriage, a leather pail labeled fire, a wooden washboard, a wigless doll. Ben brought Quillerin some cheese and crackers on a plate decorated with an advertisement for an 1870 patent medicine that relieved itching. Then he lowered himself with a groan into a creaking chair of mildewed wicker. We are faint," he said. "Our gashes cry for help." He drank fastidiously from a cracked teacup. Ben had removed his white beard, and now he looked absurd with a rouged nose and cheeks, pale jowls, and powdered artificial eyebrows. Quillerin said, "I've been in Junktown a week now, and frankly, I don't know how you dealers make a living." We muddle through. "Where do you acquire your goods? Where does it all come from?" Ben waved a hand at the sculptured head of an angel, minus nose. "Behold, a repulsive little gem from the facade of the Garrick Theatre. Genuine stone, with the original bird droppings." He waved toward a discolored washbowl and pitcher. "A treasure from Mount Vernon, with the original soap scum." For half an hour, Quillerin piled his host with questions, receiving flowery answers with no information whatever. At last he prepared to leave, and as he glanced at a few stray cracker crumbs on the seat of the black horsehair sofa, he saw something else that alerted him: a stiff, blonde hair. He casually picked it up. Back in his own apartment, he examined the hair under a lamp. There was no doubt what it was. 3 inches long, slightly curved, tapering at one end. He went to the telephone and dialed a number. "Mary," he said, "I've made a discovery. Do you want to see something interesting? Put on your coat and run over here." Then he turned to the cats, who were lounging contentedly on their gilded chairs. "Okay, you guys," he said. "What do you know about this?" Coco scratched his left ear with his hind foot, and Yum Yum licked her right shoulder.